Hi, it's Amalia, founder of Braids Beyond and host of the Silver Bullet STEM podcast. I have something to tell you. There's a best kept secret in science, and that is braiding. Hair braiding has a technical expression in science. Braid theory, like braid theory exists in science and it's considered pure math, which means that it has an expression in art, hair braiding, and it has an expression in science like biology, physics, chemistry, and the list goes on. And so there's an argument to be made that if the people who understand the 3D representation of braid theory, as in art, hair braiding, why can't those same people be taught principles of science, chemistry, physics, and biology? And so I believe that the underrepresentation in STEM does not need to exist. It is because of a lack of proper marketing and resources to help the underrepresented community exist in STEM. So let me give you an example, which is also my problem statement. In an represented household, let's say white or any other race, because they have a large representation of STEM jobs, when a child is born into that family, they have exposure to STEM activities at a young age because parents usually include their children in whatever they're doing. So if a dad is an engineer, as soon as the baby can walk or talk, he's beginning to teach them science concepts at their level. So STEM discovery, which is the current solution for closing the STEM gap, when a child enters a STEM discovery program at, let's say, 4 or 5, that child has 3 years on a Black child who's now seeing STEM concepts for the first time. So my argument is STEM discovery in itself is discriminatory because it caters to people who've already had the exposure. And not only that, while the child is going through STEM activities, if they run into any challenges, they have a parent at home or someone in the family they can go home to talk about it with. When it comes to an underrepresented child, because there's no one in the community, or so 9 in 100 people in the community who is in STEM, there's nobody for them to be able to go home to talk to. And sometimes the problems are not easily Googleable. Is Googleable a word? I don't care. It is today. It's not Googleable because you may have a challenge. Let's take, for example, programming. So if you're coding and you're doing great, but you run into errors, there might be a syntax error. You might have to reference your pseudocode. If you don't have a background in programming, there are only so much resources in the classroom. You need to be able to look that up and figure out some troubleshooting. And while you're figuring it out and troubleshooting, the other represented kids in the classroom are going ahead, la, da, 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 da. And you're here left as an underrepresented student feeling stupid, not because you're stupid, but because you didn't have the same exposure at home as someone who was from a represented demographic. So what I created was a pre-STEM discovery. I call it awareness, readiness, and enrichment. Let's talk about what awareness is. A lot of times I ask people, what is STEM beyond the acronym? And most people can't answer that for me. You can Google it, and what they define in essence is using the same acronym to give you a definition. I don't know about anybody, but my English teacher would have rolled in her grave if you use the word to define the word. That is not a definition. So in my program, I teach awareness. What is STEM? There are 3 ways that you can understand it. Readiness, I develop an assessment that helps your child or you identify what your child's dominant STEM gift is so that you can put them in the right programs. And the enrichment part, it's like, aha, now I know where I fit in STEM. Let me begin to do the STEM discovery activities that allow me to flourish. Here's why that matters. The awareness and readiness part is if the child doesn't have the support at home, if you start with something they're naturally interested in, you can build on that, and the child can build on that. And even if they're stuck, they're motivated. And even if they feel like maybe everybody else is getting it, better than I am, they're so driven, they will stop at nothing until they have the answers. They're more likely to ask for help. They're more likely to talk to the mom until they wear the child, wears the mom out to find somebody who can help them. But if it's something that is naturally a hurdle or doesn't align with who they are, naturally, it's harder for the child to ask for help or be interested or do the extra levels of work. It's not that the child isn't interested, it is that the child is not aligned to the right STEM activity. All right, let's move forward a little bit. I'm often asked, why should we choose you? Why should I be chosen to teach this subject? Well, for one, STEM has been marketed since the 90s, and the powers that be, nobody's identified this as an issue. Nobody's doing the work to address it the way I have. 60% of the underrepresented community is losing interest in STEM by 6th grade. And nobody's doing anything about it. And I decided I wanted to do something about it. Here's the thing. I was 37 when I found out I had, 36 actually, when I realized I had a STEM gift. And at 37, I enrolled in a program to confirm or deny that I have STEM aptitude. I did. I cried the entire degree because for the first time in my life, it felt like it was the thing I was meant to do, but I didn't know what it was before. And I had a lot of, this is not what I'm meant to do. I'm smarter than this job. So the person who's identified the program and done the research and did the work to be able to develop something for the community, one is the person that should be chosen. But here's a larger argument to be made. The Wright brothers, the ones who created the first working airplanes, if you wanted to create a passenger airplane after they developed the unmanned airplane, would you go to a competitor and somebody who hasn't done the test, done the work and developed the program, who hasn't correctly identified the problem? And granted, the Wright brothers didn't have any formal education, but they were able to build the aviation models that was later built on and we have today. So the question comes back to anybody who asks me, why should we choose you? Meaning me. Do you want to go with the Wright brothers, me? Or do you want to go with somebody else who may hear what I'm teaching and copied my work? Here's how you can get involved. The average cost of a child participating in a STEM program is between $33 and $50 a child. My program, because I haven't done any studies on them yet, but trust me, as soon as we have enough momentum, I will improve the results because I was able to do it with myself and both of my children. I have a teenage daughter and a teenage. The way that you can get involved is by following me on Kickstarter and reaching out to your schools. I've called schools and I can't get past the person who answers the phone. The principals don't call me back. And that's no fault of their own. What I'm creating is a new space in STEM. And I can understand the skepticism that teachers and students and people in the education system may have, because I'm saying, hey, there's more to this than meets the eye. So if you're a parent, please follow. I'm trying to figure out ways to have a parenting style package, but here's why I want to have the schools involved. I want to have a two out of 3 points check for the student. So 2 points means 2 people are aware and practicing. So I want the student aware of what STEM is, what STEM gifts are, what their strong STEM gift is, so that when they're in situations and settings where someone may challenge their intelligence or challenge their STEM gift, they can sit in themselves and say, oh no, honey, I know what I know and nobody can change that. So the average Black household makes about $47,000. One STEM job pays $97,000 a year. The average household the average income of a non-Black household is $105,000 a year. So a STEM job doubles your paycheck, and if you're in a represented group, you make even more than $97,000 a year. So STEM is about money, and to think that your child, 9 out of 10 kids, can do STEM if they're given the right resources, if they're given the right empowerment, if they're made aware. Come on now. I need your support. I need your help to get the word out. I'm going to wrap up for today. Until next time. Bye.